N.D.Jones, EDD, is a USA Today best-selling author who lives in Maryland with her family. In her desire to see more novels with positive, sexy, and three-dimensional Black characters as soulmates, friends, and lovers, she took on that challenge herself. N.D., introduce us to these wonderful characters.
Thank you. Of Deception and Divinity is the third book in my Death and Destiny paranormal romance trilogy. So in this excerpt, open up the page. You'll be introduced to Sonora. Sonora is my heroine. She is the prophesized fire witch of legend. And at this point, she's been haunted by the previous fire witch of legend, who was also happened to be her ancestor. So she decides to summon her. Born into fire, yet cast into violence, I call to thee. I summon thee. Come, sister. Sonora formed a fireball in the palm of her hand, blew on it, and then whispered, "Come, fire witch of legend, I demand your presence." Using wind magic, Sonora shoved the fireball into the center of the salt circle. Wind merged with fire and exploded. Howling flames and furious shrieks followed. In the center of the roaring storm of chaos was a fully formed and contained fire witch of legend. Green eyes bled to scarlet when she saw Sonora. Enraged, she dove for her, only to slam into the protective barrier of Sonora's salt and blood circles. She tried over and again, hurling her body against the invisible field, her anger growing with each failed attempt. Salt crackled and blood sizzled, keeping the soul of the fire witch of legend within the containment field. Still, the wild woman fought, cursing in a language Sonora didn't know. Her brown, lithe form naked, and red gold hair in a plume of billowing smoke. Exhausted from watching her predecessor wage a pointless battle, Sonora sat on the floor in front of the circle and waited. "Release me, you pathetic layer of volcanic ash," she screamed. Sonora ignored her, as if she'd gone through all the trouble of summoning and capturing the fire witch, just to turn around and let her go because she asked. Not even nicely, which was what Sonora had come to expect of the dead witch. She was a nasty piece of work, but Sonora didn't think the woman had started off that way. She practiced patience. It was Saturday. Asufa was off doing whatever bull-headed werecats did, and Mr. Siddick and Minute knew not to come knocking when they heard strange noises coming from her bedchamber. Sonora must have fallen asleep, because the next thing she heard was the witch yell, "Wake up, you despicable child. How dare you summon and cage me?" Then have the temerity to fall asleep while I'm in the middle of cursing you and your unborn children. Sleeping on the floor didn't feel good without her mingwa to serve as a big fluffy pillow. Sonora rolled from where she'd been sleeping on her side into a cross-legged position. "It's your fault that I'm so tired." As if to prove her point, Sonora yawned. "I haven't slept well in weeks, not since you began invading my dreams, which, by the way, I don't appreciate." The fire witch slumped to the floor, mirroring Sonora's cross-legged position. Considering she wore nothing below her waist, Sonora made sure to keep her eyes north of the border. "What do you want from me, child?" "To know why you've decided to haunt my dreams." "Because I can. Because I'm evil, and that's what evil creatures do. Because you're my only connection to a life I loved and lost. Because I hate you for your youth and innocence and utter ignorance. Because your mate still lives while mine is long since dead." Okay, that was a hell of a lot of reasons, most of which Sonora had no interest in exploring. "Tell me about your mate." "My what?" The question had taken the fire witch of legend by surprise. "Good. Your mate. The man you loved and lost. Tell me about him. What was his name? In fact, what's your name? She blinked at Sonor. You summoned me here to kill me. I never said that. But you have me in this cage of salt and blood. Why else if not to kill me for terrorizing your sleeping mind? I have no desire to kill you, but I do have a vested interest in you not murdering me. Perhaps not so ignorant after all. Well, you still are. You're just not a fool, for I would slay you now that I'm corporeal and you're so very close. Good to know. So, tell me your name and the name of your mate. Sonora crawled to the bed, making sure not to break the circle. After grabbing a pillow, she made her way to the wall closest to the fire witch, propped the pillow against it, and then leaned her back into it. This felt better, but Sonora still wasn't comfortable. Perhaps she should have gotten two pillows, one for her back and the other for her to sit on. Done, child. First you fall asleep. Now you squirm and frown as if you have crickets in your pants. You sound like my mother, and I only need one of those. By the way, before you start judging, you may want to first close your legs. The Fire Witch of Legend glanced down at herself, then shrugged. There's no shame in the new form. I suppose times have changed, but I see no point for me to do so. I am, after all, quite dead. Technically, the witch was undead, which explained how she could both travel into Sonora's dream and be summoned and contained in a magic circle, body as solid as Sonora's. You aren't nearly as entertaining awake as you are asleep. As such, I will humor you and answer your odd questions. My name is Shanumi, and my mate's name was Abu Bakr. Sonora's head clumped against the wall, the same initials as Sonora and Asufa. That was taking the prophecy and Fire Witch and Cat of Legend too damn far. It bordered on weird and was creepy as hell. Tell me about him. How did you meet? What did you know? When did you know you first loved Abu Bakr? After another hesitation and grumbled curses about intrusive and impertinent children, Shanuma began to speak. Sonora closed her eyes and listened to her love story. Like most true love stories, it was full of tears and smiles, laughter and anger, joy and heartache. In other words, Shanumi and Abu Bakr were quite human, she shy and awkward, and he proud and protective. I'll stop there.